This season of So You Want to Run a Restaurant is brought to you by Localizer.
In today's market, the difference between a full house and an empty one is discoverability. And Localizer makes sure your restaurant actually gets found.
Yeah, by making it easy to manage all your online reviews, you'll boost your ranking on Google, Yelp, and even the top delivery apps. And more visibility means more customers walking through your door.
Turn your great reputation into real growth. And as an added bonus, listeners of this show get a 25% off discount on your first 3 months.
Learn how at localizer.com/podcast. That's LOCALYSER.com/podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claudia Sarek.
And I'm Spencer Michael.
And this is So You Want to Run a Restaurant, created by the team at backofhouse.io, the most trusted resource for restaurant tech. Today, we are joined by a chef who's taken Chicago's barbecue scene in a pretty bold but delicious new direction, fusing Central Texas-style smoke with Chinese and Vietnamese flavors.
That's right. Our guest is Charles Wong. He is the creator and pitmaster behind Umamicue, an award-winning pop-up and residency that's built its name on creative storytelling through food. Charles has been recognized as a Star Chef's Rising Star in residencies all over the city of Chicago, and is known for dishes like brisket banh mi, a smoked crab rangoon, that really kind of flip the script on what barbecue can actually be.
Yeah, and what's so cool about Charles's story is that barbecue wasn't his first career path at all. He was actually working in finance, of all the places, before one life-changing bite of brisket in Texas set him on a completely different journey. So I'm excited to talk to him today.
Yes, so am I.
Charles, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So one of the things that stood out to me about your story is how you talk about barbecue as a language and a way of connecting cultures and people. And I just really loved that connection. So I'm wondering, to kick this off, can you take us back to kind of where this all started and where you kind of became interested in this?
Yeah, barbecue, food, and especially food is really in our language. When I was younger, we would celebrate with food, we'd mourn with food. Food was always around, and I think part of that reason is, when my parents were growing up and they were kids, they didn't know when their next meal was coming from, and so it was really important for them to provide food for us on the table every single day for us. And my parents were able to accomplish that. Both of them worked full-time jobs. And growing up, I really started to get interested in barbecue when I went down to Austin, Texas, and I tried Franklin barbecue for the first time. And that's when I had the Texas-style brisket, and that kind of transcended me into this moment of, damn, this is really, really good. How do we get this in Chicago? Because back in that time, we didn't have any Texas-style barbecue in Chicago. And so that kind of took me down a path, a deep, dark path of trying to get that brisket to be Texas-style.
Yeah, and that place is iconic, too. It's like,
Yeah.
if you don't get there in time, you're not getting fed for the day.
Right.
Have you been there, Spencer?
I have never. No, I was about to say it's a place. It's on the bucket list of places to go. For me, definitely. And you could see they'll go through. I've seen them go through the line on their YouTube videos and be like, "Sorry, the cutoff is here.
Right.
We haven't even opened yet. You're not getting any food." So, what drew you to Austin in the first place to go? And was it were you seeking out barbecue, or were you just happen to be there like, well, I should try it out, and had this transcendental moment?
Yeah, I was, I think it was just a trip. I think it was a South by Southwest trip that me and some buddies decided to take.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we should go to this barbecue restaurant. And half the guys were like, no, we're not going to go. It's such a long wait. Like, no food could be that good to wait. And it was me and a buddy who decided, let's just wait and check it out. I mean, either we're going to be drinking somewhere or we're going to be drinking in line. So we're like, let's just drink in line and let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see what all the hype is about.
Yeah, we can do both at once. We can wait for great food and drink in line. I love
Yeah.
that. So let's go back a little bit. So I know that your journey kind of started in an unexpected place. And you mentioned that you were you were down at South by Southwest, and that's how you stumbled across Franklin Barbecue, which I would imagine that's how a lot of outsiders that aren't familiar with it do stumble upon it. I think I went there the first time at Austin Startup Week. So a lot of startup action around there. You basically you started off in finance. So talk about that and talk about how that transition kind of came to be.
Yeah. Growing up as a child of immigrant parents, they were like, "Hey, we took the ultimate sacrifice to get here, and now the best path is to just do really well in school and get a very stable job." So I wasn't good enough in math to be a doctor. So next best thing was finance, and got my finance degree in Chicago, DePaul University, and
Same.
oh, awesome.
I'm also a DePaul alumni for those that didn't know.
Oh, that's great. Well, I graduated in 2007. So right when the house of cards were falling for the subprime mortgages, I just took the first job that gave me an offer because it was a very bleak employment landscape at that time. So I was doing finance and I bounced around a couple firms. But during that time, it was the Franklin visit and then buying a smoker and just messing around and doing catering for friends and family. I didn't want to really turn this into a business. I just wanted to do it for fun. Then decided, hey, one day I'm starting to get really tired of the finance job, and so I'm like, let's see if we can make some money off of this. So the first catering gig was actually for 450 people. And this is like during the
Wow.
Cubs. Yeah, this was during the Cubs World Series run.
Wow.
And I remember watching, game 6 or game 7. I think it was game 6 when they went to extra innings, and I had an email come through, and I remember looking at it, and it's like, oh, we'd like to have you cater our bank holiday party. And I was like, okay, cool. I thought it was just a friend pranking me because I just set up the LLC and I had my own
Wow.
email address and I was feeling really good about it. So I started telling people, and turns out it was real. They're like, yeah, would you like to do this?
Wow.
I said yes before I really had any equipment. So, and that was the next
Well,
thing, bootstrap it
but wait,
all.
though, because I read that early on you started smoking meat on your high-rise apartment balcony. I don't know if that's true or not. And
Yeah.
first off, is that legal in Chicago? You don't have to answer that.
Yes.
But second, I love that. And I feel like you get customers just from the meat, the smell of that to everyone wafting around those apartment balconies.
I feel about somebody, my neighbor, smoking. Good on some days
Like,
and not
offer it
so good
up.
on others. Yeah, if I lived
Yeah.
if I was in your building.
Well, yes, it is legal. They're gas or electric, and the
Yeah.
pellet grill is electric, so I'd plug it in. So funny story is that the neighbor on the upstairs floor started complaining of the smell of smoke. So they wouldn't like tell me about it. They would go and tell the office,
Mm-hmm.
and they came up and they're like, looked at my setup. They're like, oh, it's just electric. I'm like, okay, great. Like you're within the rules. And apparently he was outside smoking cigarettes, sunbathing, and it was bothering him. This is a true story. Very true story.
Oh
I was
wow.
like, oh, there's a lot of worse things that can smell than your cigarettes and sunbathing.
Yeah. But that is also a classic Chicago apartment, your neighbor's story. Like all of the crazy, insane stories that you have living in Chicago high-rise apartments. I'm in one right now. And, you never know who you're going to. You never know who you're going to get on your
Right.
floor, above you. You're sharing walls, ceilings, floors with a lot of different interesting characters.
Yeah,
So
it's a wild
that's
card
funny.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet the person that was sitting with those, above him with the wafting of the cigarette smoke was happy that it was being masked by delicious barbecue
Yeah,
smoke.
for sure.
You're doing
100%.
everybody a favor. So after that's like right into the fire, 450 people. That's no joke to cater right out of the gates with no equipment, which I love. That's fantastic. We'll figure that stuff will figure itself out, right? Well,
Yeah,
first we'll get the
right.
contract. And so there, like, where did you go from there? So after that gig, and then you started catering, and then you moved into the pop-ups, or was it like what was the evolution of that?
I still had my full-time finance job, so I didn't really advertise or anything. We did the holiday party a couple more times every year, and then something happened to the owner. He went to jail, so we stopped doing those. And then, like late
That's a bummer.
2019,
Yeah.
Sorry. I feel like well, that's a pivot.
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah. But yeah, after that, I was still working in finance, and late 2019, I felt like I was having a heart attack. Well, this is like spring 2019. I felt like I was having a heart attack. I went to the doctor and they did EKG and they told me, "Hey, everything's fine." They were like, "Are you really stressed at work?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm, extremely stressed." And they're like, "Well, you should consider figuring out how you can be less stressed at work." So the next day I walked in and I was like, "I'm going to give you my notice right now.
Hmm.
My last day will be in September, and then we'll move on, be on our way." And then I was going to start doing Umamicue full time. So our first pop up that we did was at a restaurant called Perilla Fair.
Love that spot.
Yeah. So February 19th, 2020, we did our first pop up. We sold out, and we're like, let's look for a brick and mortar. And then a month later, something weird happened with the world, and
Yep.
we're all wearing masks, and like we're all scientists and things like that. So we had to pivot. So we did a lot of meal prepping for people, friends and friends of friends. So it was really exciting. Yeah, learned a ton. We deliver all over the city, the suburbs, and then when things started opening up again, I bought my 500-gallon offset, and then in like 2021, I believe, I went down to Texas to stage at a place called Leroy and Lewis. Now they're good friends of ours, and they were top 5 in Texas Monthly 4 years ago, and I think they're like number 2 this year, and they were one of 4 barbecue restaurants to receive a Michelin star last year.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the only barbecue place that would let me stage. Like I called everybody and they're like, "No, we don't let you do that." I'm like, "I'm ready to clean toilets with a toothbrush if you want, you know, if you just let me learn barbecue." And yeah, everybody with exception to Laura and Lewis, didn't give me an opportunity. So
That's incredible. Why turn down free help at any restaurant? Is it just the capacity to we can't teach you, we don't have time for that, or was it just a matter of we don't know what to do with you when you're asking this? Because staging usually obviously is something when you would go to a fine dining well-known chef and they're you would just learn by osmosis. So is barbecue a little bit different that you're not going to learn much from us even though you probably will?
yeah, I think part of it is there was a lot of gatekeeping, a lot of things that, they
Uh,
didn't want people to know their techniques. And I
uh-huh.
think with the explosion of a lot of YouTube chefs and especially in the
Yeah.
barbecue scene, then all the secrets are no longer secrets. And that like everybody can do really good barbecue if they understand the technique and understand the why. So now it's a little bit of a different ball game versus, back pre-pandemic or just post-pandemic.
Hmm. It's interesting, though, that you were considering doing a brick and mortar restaurant in the beginning. And I heard you mention that you were about to do it right before the pandemic opened, and then you decided to move to this model. And you've basically stuck with it since then.
Hmm. Yeah. So let's kind of continue down the storyline. When things started opening up again, we started doing pop-ups at breweries, some restaurants, and we just wanted to, one, learn more about the process and everything because I didn't have a formal kitchen training. And two was just to kind of build the hype, see if you can build the line
Yeah.
before your brick and mortar opens.
I find like from a business perspective, like running a pop-up gives you a lot of creative freedom. But there's also a unique kind of pressure because every time you set up, you're pulling your supplies, all of your equipment, uh, all of your ingredients, and then all of your personnel and your people. And with the goal of selling out that night, you need to sell out to make any money. Essentially, at the same time, you're not weighed down by these fixed costs of a brick and mortar, where like you've got your lease, your equipment rentals, your ongoing tech monthly subscriptions. So how do you balance that freedom of this creative freedom you have to just create a menu and do it for one night with the pressure to perform every time you step up to the plate?
Technology decisions can make or break a restaurant. That's why restaurants turn to Back of House, your guide to smarter tech strategy. From point of sale systems to online ordering, labor tools, and guest engagement platforms, Back of House helps you cut through the noise with expert insights, comparisons, and best practices. Don't just buy tech, build a strategy that grows your business. Visit backofhouse.io and get the clarity you need to choose the right tools for your restaurant.
Yeah, it's like the Wild Wild West. In all honesty, there's no real money to be made. I think you have to do it for a sustainable period of time with the plan to do something greater than that, either a residency at a place that doesn't have food. But doing pop-ups is a very tough ball game. You know, you got to know how much to make. Like if you make too much, then you're going to have to take all that food back and figure out what to do with it. You're essentially paying for more labor to pack up and everything like that with the food. So you lose on waste and you lose on labor. If you make too little and you sell it too quickly, then you leave a lot of money on the table.
Right.
So it's really, there's real no, it's like trying to balance that out is very difficult. So long as you just go into the mindset of like, hey, you know, I'm doing this because I'm furthering the brand. I'm making people aware of who we are and what we do. Um, and so you kind of build a following through social media, and that's what
Yeah.
we were able to do to kind of draw more people to, know what we do, who we are, and what we do. And it's been really helpful for to see like new faces and pop up at a different place and have people say, "Hey, I've been following you ever since, so and so, and you were on our list, but we could never get to you because you were too far or it just didn't work out timing wise." So it's really, really cool to see.
Yeah. And by the way, you have received some awards and accolades. I saw that you were named 2024 Rising Star Chef and even won a
Yeah.
$20,000 business startup prize at the utility show
That's
early this
awesome.
year. So,
Yeah.
congratulations on those.
Oh,
I
thank you
would
so much.
imagine, yeah, I would imagine that receiving some of those awards and accolades also really helps to keep you motivated and keep your team feeling resilient about the whole thing.
Yeah, 100%. It validates what we're doing. I think the Rising Stars Award from Star Chefs was very special to me because we didn't have any. I didn't have any restaurant experience, and also that we were. I think we're the only pop up to receive that award. Is everybody else
Wow.
had an established restaurant, and
Wow.
so it was an incredible award to receive. And Andy actually was. He was selected as my mentor to speak on my behalf at the dinner, and that was an amazing moment that I'll never forget.
From a finance guy that was making, you're doing barbecue to get that accolades versus chefs working in a brick and mortar and you're doing pop-ups. I mean, that's you're against all odds at that point. And so that's an incredible story.
Yeah, thank you.
I think, there's such a unique narrative around your food. Barbecue is, you think of the barbecue places, it's in the South, it's in Texas, it's in Kansas City. And, it's obviously universally accepted now, but, and then there's also there was an Asian fusion, push in sort of the early the 2000s or so, but nobody did Asian fusion with barbecue. But for me, it makes sense because barbecue and generally things like Vietnamese food tend to be the food of the people. It is not refined. It is things that are cooked slowly over time, and you're layering flavors and layering all of this sort of love that goes into making this incredible dish. So is that kind of what you were thinking? Is just, I know from my own personal history about all this food that I love that I can just really get into, and now I've had this Franklin's barbecue. This works. It all works. Is that kind of where your mind was going when you decided to go down this road?
Yeah, I think you know is kind of twofold. One was that like try to make the best barbecue you can, like keep it simple to draw the masses, and then two is I really know, loved eating some of the food that I had when I was growing up and some of the flavors that, that I was used to. And I didn't, I always had that in the back of my mind. And that time when I staged at Leroy and Lewis, it helped kind of put all the pieces together because they were doing new school barbecue and it didn't have like a cuisine. They would have kimchi, they would have different types of maybe some condiments that were unique to a specific cuisine. So that opened my eyes to like, oh, this makes a lot of sense to make textile barbecue, which I believe is the best barbecue in the world. Pair that and maybe throw a little spin off of something that a flavor that pair well with it, or a vehicle that would pair well. So, for example, my parents are gonna be a little bit upset about this, but crab rangoon is Chinese American, and they'll tell me that's not Chinese food, and I totally agree. When I first started, I was like, I'm going to never do that because that's going to be disrespectful to my heritage. But also now I look at it as like, well, that's part of history. Like I was born and raised in Chicago, and I grew up eating, crab rangoon. So we take the cream cheese, we smoke it, and then we use real blue lump crab and just scallions, super simple, and then just a dipping sauce in the end. And that to me is kind of a perfect combo of barbecue, which is the ingredient is smoke, and you know stuff that I grew up eating, which is crab rangoon, but a little bit of a twist that I think real crab should be in crab rangoon. No,
Yeah,
yeah, no diss to the imitation crab meat. I think it has its place, but I
sure.
feel like the crab rangoon that we do is delicious, and
Perfect. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, I think that also speaks to the city that you're in and that you're trying to build this in, because obviously Chicago is one of the more competitive food cities in the country. And I think carving out a space here and creating a place here that also appeals to a lot of different palates and a lot of what people are used to shapes your cooking and shapes the business and your cooking and how you do it. So I mean, it seems like that's something that's been a thread in what you're doing.
yeah. I think so. I think people are they're interested in like just new and different things. When we had our first residency at Spilt Milk in Logan Square, I felt like it was a good place for us to be in because Logan is like, they're like, you're weird enough for Logan. And yeah, I love Logan Square, and hopefully our brick and mortar will be there, but it's very difficult now, and sure we
Yeah.
can kind of get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Logan has got so many great independent spots. It's great for up and coming. It's like Austin. Keep Austin weird. Keep Logan weird. Maybe we should take on that saying here too.
yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah, while we're looking for, restaurants in different locations, like the thing is, are there independent restaurants that don't belong to a larger group that are successful there?
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's really important for me to understand because, if you go out to, say like Oak Brook, which is, about 45 minutes west of here, and you're like, oh, well, Roca Core exists out there. I'm like, well, yeah, but they're backed by a large hospitality group.
Right.
Their runway is much longer than what I'll ever be able to achieve. And I don't know if that would work out for us, in the long run, just getting started, because we just don't have that large runway a hospitality group does, a large
Well,
hospitality group.
well, and is that really your brand? I mean, I do think there's something to be said about the independents and the people that are doing some really neat and interesting things that maybe aren't supposed to go that size and aren't supposed to become these giant, I don't know, like the next Let Us Entertain You restaurant, which is a huge the restaurant group that dominates the city of Chicago.
Right. I love Let Us Entertain You. I think they do
They
everything
do
they touch.
phenomenal job.
Everything they touch is gold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You've got the ability to keep it simple, though. I think
right.
because you've not only is it your approach to all of this and ingredients first and flavor first. If you stick with that, you'll be all right. But also doing these pop-ups, you understand the finances of being able just to stick to your lane and keep it simple. I don't think you need to have this giant menu and all of these steps of service. And you can really, I think the people will clamor to you because you are able to strip it down to like, we do what we do really, really well. And we know how to do it, and we're just going to continue to refine it, make it better. That's how I see it. I don't know if you've got the same vision for your place.
Yeah, we want to do the traditional barbecue as best as we can, and then we have one of our top sellers is a brisket banh mi. It's still keeping the tradition of the banh mi with the pickled carrots and daikon, the cucumber, the jalapeno, and cilantro, but then putting our smoked brisket on it, and then putting our barbecue sauce on it. So it's just a little bit of a twist, but people
That sounds
understand it.
incredible.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, people
There's
love
a
it.
place in Maui that does a banh mi with a braised pork belly that is one of
Ooh.
the best things I've ever had. So I can only imagine brisket is going to be that just goes so perfectly well with the banh mi sandwich. I
Wow.
look forward
Yeah.
to next time in Chicago to trying it.
Yeah, hit me up.
Let's bring that back to the team and try to get ourselves a trip to Maui to go and taste that in real life.
Yeah, if you want me to go too, I'll go.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. We can all go.
And then maybe
We'll do a
yeah.
live show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
maybe we can
some will
hone
pay for
in
it.
on what we need
This
to
is
do to
vital for the
replicate that.
podcast future. We need to go to Maui. Yeah.
So What advice would you give to somebody that was a young chef or professional considering making the leap or the pivot that you did and leaving their job and saying, okay, I'm going to really hone in on something that I feel super passionate about, which is food, or entering in the restaurant industry, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I think the best advice I can give is to, if you have that question of like, do you think I can do it? I think to do is to get after it and learn as much as you can about the industry and about the food that you're cooking. Find people that are successful in the business, like I did with Andy and Thomas, and have them taste your food and give you tips and mentor you. I always tell people, like, I didn't get in the food business for people to tell me that my food's delicious. I would only make it for my family, and that's it.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's a business, and you have to understand that it's a business. So you can't take things personal.
Yeah.
As chefs and restaurants, we're vulnerable every single day we put our food out. We're going to read a lot of things that are going to be made disappointing and not true about what we do, but you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt and really think about, is it my ego that's getting in the way of what's happening and what people's experiences are? I think that's something important too, is to not take anything serious.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great line. I like. I want to go back to what you'd said almost at the top of about, unfortunately, you had that moment where you're being so stressed out by your job in finance that you end up having to leave, and it was affecting you physically. And go, so to relieve your stress, you opened a restaurant, which is counterintuitive to everything we've heard. So is it because you're just looking your customers in the eye and you're bringing them a joyful experience? That's really what the restaurant business is all about. Is that kind of where, does that give you some grounding that you're not going to have these stressful situations like you had previously?
yeah. I think for me, that experience that I had at Franklin, I really wanted to share that. And Umamicue wants to be that for someone who tries our barbecue, tries our food, is that no matter what you're going through that day, if you were having a great day or not such a great day, but you take a bite and it kind of just transforms you somewhere else, where just for a moment you're like, hey, I want to dance. Maybe if you don't even know how to dance, but like you just feel really good. And I think that's something that we try to bring, but also I think I reached a point where I couldn't have any more control in finance. Like I couldn't, I tried to control as much as I could to get out of the situation. And it was an untenable situation for me where I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to leave then. That's the only option I have to save
Yeah.
myself. You
Wow.
know,
Good for you. Good for you. That's a great story.
thank you.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have those pivots though in their career where they just they hit a wall with it. I do get the the funny pivot to restaurants because some people that come on this show are, so you want to start a restaurant. So you want to own a restaurant. No, don't do it. Is usually the
I thought this was
answer.
going to be the shortest podcast in history. Do you want to run a restaurant? No. Okay. Well,
No. No, I don't. Don't do it unless you're, you're a little I don't know, you're at your wit's end or something and you really want to go and try something new, I guess. My last question for you is knowing what you know now, if you could smoke up a meal for the Charles of 2014, fresh out of the finance world and
Yeah.
staring down the life change, what would you feed him and what would you say to yourself?
I would cook myself, smoke myself the best brisket I can. I'd have
Mhm.
a couple lean slices. Have a couple of moist slices as well as some burnt ends. Then I'll do the
Ooh.
crab rangoon, um, and I'll do the lion's mane mushroom nuggets that we do. So it's just a really nice barbecue platter. I serve it to myself and I tell myself, you will be able to achieve this now if you allow yourself the opportunity to fail. I think a lot of people are scared to fail in this industry where, of course, the failure rate is like 85% within the first 5 years. Um, but knowing that you have those opportunities to fail so you can learn and you can adjust to the future, I think is really important. So I'd serve myself this and be like, this is a delicious platter. This is not the final thing that you're going to do, but this is a point where you feel comfortable enough to sell this to people and have them enjoy it. And if you keep going and not take things personally and really take every opportunity you can to learn, to fail, you are going to be successful. This is your plate. Enjoy it. And you should start right now. That's
I
where
mean, I want to be there with you in 2014. I want to eat the meal, and B, I want to hear that advice. What great advice. Wow.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That was an amazing last answer.
Well, thank you for asking it, because we're our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And that's something different than you would tell yourself. So give yourself some grace, give yourself just an opportunity to understand what's happening, and you'll do a lot better, and you'll go further than you think.
Thanks for joining us today, Charles. This has been such a great conversation.
Thanks for having me. Really
very
appreciate
unique,
it.
very cool. This has been great, Charles. Thank you.
Thank you.
So You Want to Run a Restaurant is created by Back of House, produced and hosted by Claudia Sarek, with Nick Florick as executive producer. Marketing by Hillary Young and Ashley Dunn. Creative by Manisha Kishenchand. And live production by Sarah Heemstra. And of course me, your co-host, Spencer Michael. For more information, visit backofhouse.io/podcast.